Hey guys, welcome back to Max Electronics. Don't forget that we have Patreon now, so you can check it out, and soon there'll be videos released on Patreon before you will see them on YouTube, and also some exclusive projects. So at the moment we've got on the bench this dehydrator, food dehydrator. The story is that it was left up on the balcony and the water got inside, and there's this analog thermostat that went and now is just heating until it's melting pretty much. So it's just your standard, fan and heating element arrangement with a power button and of course the thermostat. So I'm going to be upgrading this to this STC digital STC1000 digital, I guess, thermal relay that is available on eBay. They're about 15 Australian dollars, so it's about 12 American dollars. They're very cheap. They come with instruction manual, which is probably in Chinglish by the look of it, and the thermal sensor. So I thought of the way of putting that into the device, into the box itself, and it's all hollow inside. So if I've cut the hole and put this thermostat, digital thermostat inside, the problem with that is then it can be only heated up to 60 degrees Celsius, and the food dehydrator sometimes goes to 75 degrees, so that could damage this thermostat. So instead I'm going to be using this box that is originally designed for circuit breakers. You just fill the plates. I'm going to mount that on top, and I'm going to put the thermostat in here. I'm going to cut the opening and put the thermostat and sit that on top, so that fits quite well. Let's pull the actual device first, pull it apart before we get to reviewing that. So I'm going to pull it apart, the whole dryer, and clean it up, get rid of the old thermostat, and we'll have a look together what's inside. So stick around. Before I actually start fitting this into the device, I want to pull it apart and have a look what the construction is. So I've never dealt with those specific ones, but it's suitable for cooling and heating. So I'm going to open the back panel up, which reveals heating relay and cooling relay. We obviously will be using just heating. Then we've got a little connector there, rising clamp connectors, so they're good. Then there's a PTC here, so that's the thermal sensor. If I can unplug it, there we go. That comes on loose, and then we've got a 220 supply, 110, 220, 240 supply here. So let's open it up and have a look what it's like inside. So I'm going to pop the top panel off, and that slides the whole circuit board out, and then that thing's supposed to clip onto the face. Yeah, there's a clips here that you push it up and that comes off. So we've got dedicated 7-segment display, 4 tactile buttons, and lots of dodgy soldering by the look of it. Yeah, you can see the relay is actually quite not straight. I don't know if you can see that. It's off on the angle, and lots of dry joints. That one, let me zoom in so you can see it's actually, yeah, have a look at this. You can see that this solder joint is not even joint, it's just, yeah. So I'm gonna grab a soldering iron and I'm gonna reflow all this, because that is just way too dodgy and you don't want heating element running through that. So I'm gonna first of all correct the relay. So it is single pole, single throw relay. That was literally there on the angle, so let me just clean up the There is a giant solder ball here, that's why it's not sitting straight, so let me straighten that up. There we go, so you can see I'm not sure why that was there. I have cleaned up all the contacts, just need to use my lacquer thinner to clean it up fully. I'm going to retrace everything, resolder all the joints, remove the cooling relay and the cooling contacts, because we will not be using it for cooling, so less things to go wrong. Not that it matters, but I'm going to remove that relay and that rising clamp here, leaving only heating relay. I have removed the second relay and the rising clamp contact. As you can see, I've stabilized, well, I've put that there properly, that relay, and I've cleaned up all the contacts, so they're all nice and shiny now. Now let's reassemble this, so that should be pretty easy. Put this back on, and that should be clicked on. There we go, so that's there. As you can see, it's loose, but it's sitting there and the buttons are working fine. So after we've installed this, we simply slide that back into its casing. So I guess we just slide it in and click that on. There we go, both sides are clicked, so that's in place now. And now we've only got heating relay available. So 10 amps to 40 volts. Now, the next step I'm going to do is grab my little circuit breaker box that I bought, because the relay fits in it just fine, well, the thermostat. So I'm going to cut a slot, probably on this side here, maybe as high as I can probably, and fit that in. The mechanism on fitting this, once you slide it in, you cut the slot in. Once you've put that on, there are those clamps that slide on the side here and they click on, and then you just force them on, and that's it. It's like almost like zip ties, and they push against the surface holding it in. And to release it, there's a button that you press and that clamp comes loose. So I'm going to cut the hole here, and then we'll fit that inside. Actually, before we fit it in, I probably should attach the wires. Yeah, we're not going to fit. I'm going to cut the hole in, and I'm going to epoxy those little covers so they don't rattle around. So I'm going to cut the right size hole, and then we'll get onto the dehydrator itself. I've cut the opening out for the thermostat, so it fits there really nicely. So it'll sit just like this. It reaches the center of the block, so we're going to be drilling holes maybe either here or I don't know, maybe on the sides. We'll see how we go. So either way, that's done. So I'm going to epoxy those in, and we're going to move on to the device itself and start pulling it apart. So I'll take the top off, and then I'll show you what we see once the top is off. So first of all, once we open it up, that's the bottom of it there, it's actually sitting on its back. So first of all, we're gonna unscrew those screws there. So you can see just the screw on the corner there, they're holding the top lead. So there's one at the top, there's one at the bottom there, and there's one on each side where the door frame sits. So what I'm going to do, unscrew those, and then you can see those latches here, they're the ones that are holding the top together. So we're going to undo those latches, and then the top should come off freely. Also, there is a back panel that I'm going to undo, so you can see the screws just behind there sticking out at the back, so that will remove the back panel. And that's what we're going to do now. So let me put the camera down and undo the top first. Then we'll take the top first, and we'll do the back panel afterwards. I have removed the screws that I've shown you before, and now to get to the screws that are holding the top at the back, we have to remove the back panel first. So I'm going to undo all those screws and then lift off this back panel. The screws are now removed all over the perimeter, so all we need to do now is to lift that panel off. And remember, there's a button there, so we have to disconnect this. And let me do this right now. I'll see if I can hold the camera and do it by hand as well. If I can, probably wouldn't be easy. Oh yeah, I'm getting there. Sorry, you probably can't see what I'm doing. There we go. So we disconnected the button. So it has positive that goes through, and then the negative is just one contact. That blue wire is the negative, is just for illumination in the button, so it's not really used. So we're going to tap off that. So to power up our thermostat, I'm going to tap off this black one, which is the output. The red one goes directly into the line, not fused, nothing, which is odd. So after that, the blue wire goes into the button here, and that's the terminated. So we're going to continue on from here onto the new thermostat. That's an old thermostat, by the way, that has died. And it looks, yeah, quite bad. We'll have a look at it on the bench in a second. So now we can remove that whole back plate. And before we deal with that, let's further pull apart this dryer. So that's those screws sitting right there, as you can see again. We're going to remove those two screws to remove the top. Then we're going to go around the perimeter, removing all those screws to remove that mesh. And the reason I'm pulling it apart so I can refurb it, as you can see, it's filthy dirty, and I like things to be like new. So I'm going to remove those two screws, and then we'll unclip the top. I have removed all the screws that were there in the corners, and this is actually the bottom part that we're looking at. So I've had a look at the top, and as you can see, those latches, there's also latches underneath there that is in the center of the screen right here. So those latches are pretty hard to unlatch when it's assembled, even though I've unlatched those. So the bottom one doesn't have those latches. As you can see, they're right there, they're missing. So we're going to just unclip those by sticking a screwdriver into there. And I think the bottom will come off first. Let me try on this side because it's a better angle for me to film as well. So we're going to get the screwdriver and just pry it open. Yep. Then we'll move on to the next one. And there we go, this side's undone. So also you have to push it out where the screws were from here, so just like that, and that's it. That's the first bottom side off, and the other side will be exactly the same. So you don't need to do this if you're just upgrading the thermostat. The reason I'm doing this is just to clean it up and refurb it. If you're just doing the thermostat, all you need to do is remove the back, which we already have, as you can see, and fit the new thermostat. So let me just disassemble this part and wash it. And after we wash it, we'll get back to the top part to fitting the actual plate. While the parts are drying, we're going to be making the top part. So that's the lid for it, where the original thermostat and button was. So we're keeping the button. We are adding the new thermostat. So I've already finished this. That's set already. So those little plugs have been glued in place, and I've put a little sticker that was here originally onto here, which is a drying guidelines or something like that. So let's take the bottom part of this box, and I've already pre-drilled the holes where it's going to be sitting. So it's going to be sitting here. I was going to do the middle here, but then I've moved it to this side. The reason being, the actual hole for original thermostat, that's where we're going to put through the wires, which is kind of matches with this. We only need, 4 wires. So yeah, that's going to be lined up like that. And for the actual sensor, what I'm going to do is going to be in the same location as thermostat. As you can see, I've drilled the holes. So I'm not sure if it's lined up here, but there's going to be 3 mounting holes, which is this one and those 2. The center one is going to be for this sensor. So it's going to go straight through. And on the other side, let me rotate it. It's going to be sticking out right here, right next to where the original thermostat was. You can see that metal part, so it's going to be perfect location for it. And then what I'm going to do on top here, I'm just going to put a drop of silicone here, and that will seal it so it doesn't fall out. So I'm going to find some screws and screw that into the top, and then probably to do a drop of silicone to silicone that in. And then we're going to move on to the assembly part, which is I'll probably assemble off camera, because usually you wouldn't be doing this anyway, you'd be just upgrading. So I'll assemble it, and then we'll return to connectors and have a look at the old thermostat. So let's have a look at the wiring here. So we've got mains coming in, goes straight to the plate as ground. Positive goes to that red one, which is this here, to the button. From the switch, so is negative. Negative goes through everything and to the switch for illumination only, so the second one's not used. So then the positive goes into this black one and separates 2 ways. The first one goes towards the fan, which spins absolutely fine. The second one goes straight to the thermostat here. From the thermostat, it goes back into the heating element. The negative comes in and goes straight to the heating element, and then also goes to the fan and also goes to the button for illumination. So what I'm going to do is, I also noticed here it's quite rusty, if you can see on the contacts where the heating element is. So I'm probably gonna clean that up and maybe replace the screw. You can just see rust here. So I'm going to disassemble that, and I'm going to run the wires. So the negative we're going to be tapping from here for the thermostat. So from the button, it'll go straight up here. I'm going to drill this plate out here. So that's going to be drilled out completely. So that negative is going to go to the button. From the button is going to go to the thermostat. And the positive is going to go to the thermostat. I'll probably actually split it here and run it straight out to the thermostat, the new one. And then from thermostat, that one, I will probably replace it. Yeah, I'll probably replace it and make it... Oh, there is a fuse there. It's hidden away. It's just here. I'll probably replace it from that fuse, just along a wire to the thermostat. So let me drill this out. I'll disconnect this. I'm going to drill this out, and I'm going to change the contacts on that plate here to make sure that is a good connection and there's no rust on there. I've changed the contacts on this little ceramic standoff for the heating element, so it's now, as you see, nice and shiny. So I've also added the wires here with a fireproof tubing, so those are going to go to the button itself, the switch itself, so that's positive. Those two are going to be together, and that's to negative. The negative comes out of the button straight here. The positive separates to this one and to the rest of the circuitry, and this one is the heating element. So 3 wires are going to go to the thermostat. Obviously the positive is going to be common for the relay and the thermostat. So now that I've done this, I'm just going to cut this off. I'm going to assemble this back into its place, and then we'll get to the top of it and connect the thermostat. Now for the tricky part, we're going to fit the wires through the gap that we've made, and we're going to connect them to our little thermostat. So I'll bridge 2 together, which is one main power to the relay. So this is actually going to be main power is going to be, as you see, it's thicker. Sorry, I've shot here. So as you see, this one is a bit thicker, so it's going to go straight into the relay, and from relay it's going to be another thick one going to thermostat. I've already marked this is the thermostat and this is the mains, so black one's going to go straight to mains, and then we're going to feed it through like that. So I'm going to do this off shot and hook it up and feed it through and do the clamps and plug that in, screw it in, and then we'll test it out. This has all been wired, as you can see. So we've got our sensor, we've got negative, we've got positive looping through the relay, and we've got our heating element. So now it's going to be the trickiest part is to insert it here and then use the clamps, those orange things, to clip it in place. That's going to be really tricky. I'll probably have to use some sort of a screwdriver, some sort of help to push them in against there. So I'll do that off camera and I'll screw that on, and then we'll test it out. Here is the old thermostat, by the way. Let's have a look at it. It is filthy rusty. It's definitely water's been in there, so let's remove it from the plate and have a look at it. I can't believe that thermostat has failed like that. Well, again, yeah, water will do this. So here it is. All the contacts are black. That's the actual contact here, and there is no click. So I guess it's all screwed up now. Yeah, you can see all rust. So that's the old thermostat. The new thing is assembled. Let's have a look at it. So here it is working. The fan is spinning, as you can see. I don't know if it's too dark probably, but yeah, fan is spinning. It is at the moment in cooling mode because we haven't set it up. So I'm going to have a look at the manual and I'm going to tell you how to set it up. I've had a look at the manual and it's actually not easy to change the temperature, but let me show you. For example, it's working fine so far. So if you want to set the temperature, first of all, if you want to reset the unit, you press up and down together, hold it, and you'll see the display lights up and reset the unit. To set it, you press S for 3 seconds until you have F1. So that's for heating. So then you press, again, it resets if you don't do anything. So you press and hold it until you get the F1. You press S again, you get the temperature. Then you hold down S and use up and down to select, hang on, sorry, F1. And then hold down S and use up and down to select the desired temperature. So I've selected 40 and then press power button to save it. So now it's heating, and it's gonna get up to 40 degrees and turn the thermostat off. So F2, F3 and F4 is usually, so the difference value, it's set to 0.5 degrees, so that means you can set it between 0.3 and to 0.10, so to 10 degrees. So this is when the thermostat goes off, how much of a difference can be before it clicks on again. So if we go to hold down S again and go to F2, hold that down, it's 3 degrees, so which is fine. F3 is a compressor delay time, which is 3 minutes. So that's when it turns off before the compressor, it's a protection thing before the compressor turns on. And the last one is F4, which is a temperature calibration. So no calibration, that's usually go up and down, you know, again holding down S while you're adjusting up and down. That's it. That's how this unit operates. To turn it off, you press and hold down the power button for I think 3 seconds. That just shows you the values. So what's set up, it's set to 40, and that's a cooling one, I guess. So there is nothing, that's current value, and if you just press set, nothing happens. So let's see when it gets, what happens to when it gets to 40 degrees. It's pretty warm inside, so the unit's working. And there we go, just like we saw, the unit switched off. Obviously it keeps rising because the heating element cooling down. And let's see when it turns back on. So I'm going to open the door just to let the hot air out to see when it's going to turn back on. It should be at 37 degrees. And there we go, just as it hit 37, the unit came back on and started heating again. Yep, off we go. So that's it. So that's our new modification. So again, I could have put the old thermostat, but you know, it's probably the same price as the digital one. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. My name is Max. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you'd like to support our channel financially, you can like us, subscribe on Patreon. That's it for today's video. Thanks for watching. My name is Max. Bye.